Samsung Galaxy S8 Review, the best looking phone ever made. There's an ideal of smartphone design that manufacturers have been aiming for since the iPhone in 2007. It looks like a single piece of glass, without any physical buttons or exterior casing. Instead, its face is singularly dominated by a gleaming, borderless display. Practical limitations have made such a device difficult. Even on today's iPhone 7, the display only takes up 2/3 of the surface area, leading to a lot of wasted space. Step forward. Samsung's Galaxy S8, and its bigger brother the S8 Plus. Revealed last month, the S8 is the closest thing yet to that futuristic vision of an all-screen phone. Just as importantly, it is very pretty, almost inarguably the best-looking phone ever made. But at £689 and up, it's also jaw-droppingly expensive. That price tag, as well as Samsung's recent exploding phone debacles, mean the S8 needs desperately to impress. Screen. The S8's key feature is what Samsung calls the infinity screen, which curves around the side of the device. It's a slight tweak on the edge screens featured in some previous Samsung phones, the main difference being that the corners are rounded. The screen is also taller, with the typical 16:9 aspect ratio stretched out to 18.5:9. This means Samsung has managed to fit 5.8-inch and 6.2-inch screens into the relatively svelte designs of the S8 and S8 Plus respectively. A couple of caveats to that. It includes the curve of the screen, so isn't a like-for-like comparison with a flat panel, and the longer display is not always fully utilized. While the long screen is great for scrolling through Facebook, if you're watching Netflix or YouTube videos shot in 16:9, you have the option of a letterboxed view with black bars on the side, or expanding the video so the top and bottom are cut off. The display itself, however, is glorious. Samsung says it is the first to be certified as Mobile HDR Premium, meaning better colors, darker blacks and brighter whites. Body. Samsung has done its best to eliminate the areas above and below the S8's display. The home button is still there but is now contained within the screen. Press it and you get a clicky response from the pressure sensor under the display as you would a physical button. The other Android buttons, for going back and opening recent apps, are now part of the touch screen. Because of that long screen, the S8 feels especially tall and narrow. The upside of that, it fits in your pocket easily. The downside, it can be hard to reach the top of the screen. Generally, though, it feels comfortable in your hand. The fingerprint sensor, once part of the home button, is moved to the back of the phone, which leads to one of my biggest problems with the S8. The fingerprint scanner is not located dead center on the rear panel, because that's where the S8's camera sits. Instead, it's shoved next to the camera, and as a result, you invariably end up putting your grubby digits over the lens for the first few days until you get used to it. The sensor is also a vertical rectangle instead of a circle, which looks neater but isn't ideal for popping your fingertip on. All that said, after a week's use I've become much more familiar with the scanner's location, so it will become less of an issue over time. The good news is if you're not a fan of the fingerprint scanner, you've got options. The S8 has the iris recognition first introduced in the doomed Note 7, and facial recognition for the first time. Both are easy to set up and work reasonably well, although facial recognition can be a bit temperamental as well as a security issue. But the fundamental flaw with both is that you have to angle the phone's front camera in the direction of your face. I've found myself pretty much ignoring them both and relying on the fingerprint scanner. Camera. Samsung has very strong competition in the camera stakes from both the iPhone 7 and Google Pixel, but the S7's was already excellent, so Samsung has done the smart thing and not messed with it too much. It's the same 12MP sensor on the back and 8MP on the front. The main difference the company has touted is multi-frame image processing, which means the camera software takes 3 pictures and stitches them together to create the best one. Whatever the means. The results are certainly impressive. Pictures are detailed and capture light well, although I found there was a slight tendency to oversaturate close-ups of pets and human faces. But the S8 stands up really well to the Pixel and iPhone, and at this point there's very little difference between the three of them. The S8's camera app, by the way, has a huge array of options. A Pro mode lets you adjust options like white balance and ISO, and there are some slightly bizarre beautification options for selfies that make your eyes appear bigger, your face slimmer and skin smoother. And because it's 2017, there are a number of Snapchat-style lenses. Software. Samsung's downfall has never been its phone's hardware, but the irritating way it implements Android. Users have complained that its phones have been filled with bloatware, unnecessary features and unwanted apps. The Note 7 tamed some of these instincts last year, with a cleaned-up interface that has thankfully been carried over to the S8, and there's no evidence of performance being affected. The phone is exceptionally zippy. I tend to stick to Google's apps on Android, so the huge number of Samsung duplicates is a little irritating, but it isn't difficult to uninstall them and switch to Google for your defaults. Thank you for watching this video. Please subscribe our channel.